Social justice is a continuous moral obligation for all members of society to strive for equity, while ensuring that every individual's fundamental needs are met and cared for. Equity is the key word that defines social justice. Rather than equality, which gives equal resources to everyone no matter their situation, equity puts everyone on the same level, no matter how uneven those resources may end up being. These fundamental needs are based off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the bottom of which, among the most basic human needs for survival, is shelter. A person living without permanent residence is considered homeless. A person is chronically homeless if they have been in the shelter system for a year or 4 times in 3 years. That adds up to a year. Currently, the Cleveland Plan benefits and supplies housing to the chronically homeless individuals, not the families. Because shelter is on the bottom of the pyramid, all human beings deserve and require a home. So, we want to change this definition of chronically homeless to an individual or family who has been without a home for 6 months. Cleveland's current plan, the Hearth Act, has a budget of $35 million. 9.5% of that goes to rapid rehousing, where a homeless individual or family is given immediate housing with rent paid for 4 to 8 months. 25% of the budget goes to shelters, and 65.5% goes to permanent supportive housing, which is where single chronically homeless individuals can stay and have direct constant access to services. Our Cleveland Plan focuses on not only changing the definition of the chronically homeless and providing more permanent supportive housing, but also allocates money to fund services and prevention, which is not in the current plan. Of the $35 million, we believe that it would be best spent 50% on permanent supportive housing under our new parameters, 20% on rapid rehousing, 10% on shelters, which include emergency shelters and transitional housing, 10% on services, and 10% on prevention. Part 1 is prevention. Evictions are a leading cause of homelessness in Cleveland, with 40,000 evictions annually, averaging 110 evictions per day. There are 2 factors that contribute towards such prevalence of evictions: a lack of legal resources and a lack of rental assistance. Of the 40,000 evictions, the Institute for Research on Poverty found that only 11,000 cases were filed, despite the law stating that a landlord must file a complaint in court. Such disregard for a proper legal procedure stems from the lack of legal resources attainable by low-income tenants, as more than 90% of landlords hire lawyers, while only 10% of tenants could do the same. A second factor contributing to the high rates of eviction is a lack of rental assistance. In fact, 2/3 of families living below the poverty line receive no housing assistance. This is caused by demanding criteria to be eligible for rental assistance. In the Cuyahoga County specifically, one is eligible for rental assistance in the PRC program if they are living with at least one minor child, are pregnant, or are the non-custodial parents of the child. The family's income must also be at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. Additionally, they have to meet one of the 4 following criteria. 1. Be employed or enrolled in post-secondary education. 2. Must gain court approval for specific needs. 3. Participate in child welfare programs. And 4. Be impacted by natural disasters. Such demanding criteria are worsened with loan approval times, which often occur later than the trials that lead to eviction. This effectively leaves a majority of tenants unprotected from rental assistance, leading to eviction. The obvious impact of eviction can be homelessness. However, studies also indicate that evictions make future housing harder for tenants, as landlords are less likely to accept previously evicted individuals. It also leads to unemployment without stable housing. Moreover, evictions increase the chances of experiencing depression by 20%. Our solution towards reducing evictions is twofold: to provide legal and rental assistance. We believe that homelessness can be resolved preemptively. In other words, we don't have to wait for people to become homeless to help them. We plan to keep people to stay in their homes and prevent from being evicted. For legal assistance, we plan to encourage more lawyers to participate in pro bono programs such as Cleveland Homeless Legal Assistance Program by eliminating the option to pay off mandatory pro bono hours with money. Moreover, we plan to establish better outreach to educate tenants about their legal rights and resources available, functioning like Care Alliance, but instead of medical assistance, we provide legal assistance. For rental assistance, we plan to broaden eligibility for the PRC program to reach more individuals in need of rental assistance. Similar models have succeeded nationwide. For example, Milwaukee saw a 15% decrease in evictions by providing rental assistance, while the Coalition for the Homeless reports that such programs saved $44,000 per year in shelter costs, with 97% of those assisted remained housed. Part 2. Emergency shelters. When an individual enters the shelter system, they report to central intake, where their needs are assessed and they are placed in the best place for their current situation. Many of these families and individuals are placed at an emergency shelter, which are oftentimes currently full. There are 2,000 individuals per night seeking refuge in an emergency shelter, with 8,892 unique individuals per year and 1,682 different families. The average stay for an individual at these shelters is 71 days, while the stay for families is 51 days. When people are turned down at the central intake, they end up sleeping on mats on the gym floor of City Mission or other overflow facilities. Families don't get to move into a family shelter until there is room for them, so many end up at an overflow facility. With women's shelter at 115% capacity and 400 overflow beds in the men's shelter, families are often left to fend for themselves. Our solution includes a plan to reduce the number of families and individuals in emergency shelters, which will inevitably be more cost-effective as well. Part 3. Transitional housing. Transitional housing appears to help families who use them to achieve some important goals, such as maintaining current stable housing and treating substance abuse. Further, longer stays in transitional housing may give families the opportunity to develop skills that seem to pay off in a higher probability of regular employment. In a study conducted by HUD, most families graduates of transitional housing maintained housing stability for the first year after departure from transitional housing. 86% of families leaving transitional housing moved directly from transitional housing to their own places. Transitional housing increases the chances of leading to permanent housing. Part 4. Permanent supportive housing. The most common cause of homelessness among households with children is the lack of affordable housing. Permanent supportive housing is a proven solution to chronic homelessness. This program pairs a housing subsidy with case management and supportive services that has been shown to not only help people experiencing chronic homelessness to achieve long-term housing stability, but also improve their health and well-being. Investments in permanent supportive housing has decreased chronic homelessness by 30% since 2007. A cost-effective solution, permanent supportive housing has also been shown to lower public costs associated with the use of crisis services such as shelters, hospitals, jails, and prisons. Permanent supportive housing in Cleveland has been a huge success. 95% of people who move into permanent supportive housing communities stay there or move onto their own housing. In fact, since the first permanent supportive housing building in the Cuyahoga County, the chronic homeless population has decreased by 72%. Our solution would allocate more of Cleveland's budget to permanent supportive housing for families and individuals who have been homeless for 6 months. Part 5. Rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing has yielded positive results when implemented in Salt Lake City, Utah. In Salt Lake City, when every homeless individual was given a home, the population of the chronically homeless dropped by 72% from 2005. This also saved the city millions of dollars. Every person given a home needed $10,000 to $12,000 a year, while every person living in shelter costs the city $20,000 per person per year. Another study indicated that of the 414 families given rapid rehousing, a majority remained housed or became self-sufficient. We plan to allocate 10% more funding for rapid rehousing compared to the current plan, given the successes for housing families. Part 6. Services. We categorize services into a few sections: case management, child care, medical services, employment services, and financial services. Cleveland currently is performing well in these sections, with the Partnering for Family Success program reducing child maltreatment by 19% while effectively reuniting families. Efforts by Care Alliance also meet acute medical needs of homeless individuals, such as dental care or surgical care, while issues of malnutrition and hunger are successfully tackled by organizations such as St. Herman's, which offers 3 meals every day of the year. Our plan to strengthen these efforts is to promote more outreach managed by centralized case management. Specifically, we plan to have more workshop-style sessions at different shelters at different times. Service workers can cycle between different shelters, which effectively reaches all homeless individuals and providing specific needs.